Radio V. Radio in TV. Radio in TV.
He's absolutely Jason, he's absolutely gay. He'll absolutely brighten up the darkest rainy day. He's funny and loves movies, he's smart and he's a Jew. He's an actor and an activist and wants to hear from you.
Hey everybody, welcome to Absolutely Jason Stuart with my guest Anton Troy and John Lacy. And this is the first time I've ever done this. I have two guys that got involved in a controversy. They're both actors. They're both Los Angeles actors, and you guys were both doing a play in Newhall.
Correct.
Is that? And I've never been. I think you need a passport to get there, probably.
True.
But you were doing Tennessee Williams' Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, which is one of my favorite all-time plays of all time. And when they got in, I was actually pitching myself to play Gooper, the brother-in-law, because I thought that I could play that part. So I figured if I have you here, this is my chance to get in, because I feel like I have not been given to what I deserve as an actor in this town and everything, and I think we could be brothers. I could,
Absolutely.
Maybe you could just pull your shit together a little there, and so basically, why don't you just tell me what happened, and so the viewers at home could hear. And if anybody wants to call in, we are at 855-879-4. Is it 4? I can't see it, John. It's so far away. Could you tell the number?
855-878.
Oh, it's right there. Look at this. Just like a regular show. 855-878-4652.
That's it.
That's the number. It's right there. Call in if you have a question and speak to the lovely Kim or Greg, and they're both lovely young kids who are.
True.
One's an actor and the other one's just hot. So tell us what happened. It was just sort of crazy.
Yeah, we were in our third weekend of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. We were selling out every night.
In Newhall.
Small theater, Newhall, the Repertory East Playhouse, non-equity, 81 seats. Had a really dynamic cast. We were doing spectacular work under the direction of Brad Sergi. And like you said, it's a beloved play. It's a Pulitzer Prize-winning play.
Oscar-nominated, Tony-nominated, everything.
Yeah, I think most people are more familiar with the film.
The film with Paul Newman, Elizabeth Taylor.
And Burl Ives.
And
correct?
Madeline Sherwood. And and when they did it here, Patty McCormick played Sister Woman, I remember, from The Bad Seed.
May.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we had a really dynamic cast, and we were doing some really great work with very difficult material, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
So we're our third weekend in. It's a Saturday night show. I've got several friends and family in the audience. Anton's got friends in the house. And the show is going along. Big Daddy's not really on stage much in the first act. I come out at the end of the first act and have my big confrontation with Big Mama, and then I collapse, and that goes to black to take us into intermission.
Right.
And everything seemed like it was going, according to schedule in the first
Now,
act.
let me just FYI. Now, I heard when I spoke to Maggie, the actress who played Maggie, I spoke to her on Facebook, and she had told me that no one heard anything off stage. That's what she claims, that no one knew. And then I'd read something else somewhere in one of the articles that there was a guy in the audience that came in drunk. So apparently people are allowed to drink in this theater?
Yeah, to be honest, it seems like this particular theater has put a little bit more energy into their lounge than the actual theater. I mean, they've got a very nice sitting space with a bar and flat screen TVs, and the theater itself is
Lots of
relatively
bourbon.
unimaginable. And they have a full bar, so it's not just beer and wine.
Yeah.
And a really, for the most part, a really well-run small theater in downtown Newhall. But at intermission, everything from my perspective as Big Daddy, I'd only been on the scene for the end of the first act.
Yeah, you were doing the play in 2 acts, right?
Correct.
Not 3.
Yeah, we had somewhat of an abbreviated version to make it a little bit more user-friendly for 2014, and as you said, for Newhall. So intermission, Anton comes in, and I'll let my co-star tell this part of the story.
Well,
Anton, everyone played Brick.
yes.
Which is the Paul Newman role. That's big shoes to step into.
It was big shoes, but the whole first act, I got booed, which was...
Now, this is odd, but so the gals, no one heard it backstage, and then there was no one in the house from the theater. There was no house manager or production people or the sound guy.
I mean, the only thing I can say is it's kind of hard to miss.
So
The stage manager
she was on
basically,
stage.
the stage
too.
manager is in the booth running the lights and the sound cues. She probably could have heard something from the dressing rooms.
Did
with
she
the
acknowledge
speaker.
it afterwards?
I have never spoken to her since.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we haven't. But the girl who's playing Maggie was getting a lot of cat calls, whistles, stuff like that. And then meanwhile, when I'd come out on stage, I kept getting like.
Because she's
boo,
just
boo,
for those
boo.
at home to let you know, she's wearing a slip and you're wearing just pajama bottoms.
Right, but in the beginning, I'm wearing just a towel. So
Oh,
I have
right,
just a
I
towel.
forgot.
Yeah, and then later on, I upgrade to more clothes.
Why don't we show Kim that picture of him so people will know what he looks like in the towel? That's a picture of him. It's the one that's marked brick.
Yeah, so I got booed the entire first act. It was pretty frustrating for me. Needless to say, I was upset. I went back during the intermission, went into John, and I walked up to him, told him what had happened. I was pretty upset about it. And then...
It's odd, though, just for people at home also, interrupting, is that people don't usually get booed in a theater situation.
Right.
Maybe I work in comedy clubs a lot, so that can happen in a minute. But in a theater, there's some sort of...
No, this was a first for me.
Yeah, and so no one knows what the sound gal was doing, and maybe she couldn't... Sound gal couldn't hear. It just seems odd.
It was a first for me in my career. I've never ever been booed before, so it was kind of like a little bit of a switch. But I went back into the dressing room, and then I told John what happened. He said, he's not booing you. He's booing the character. Just use it in the work. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can live with that. And I went back over to my little dressing room station and kind of sat down, put my headphones back on, went into my little meditation prep. And then I thought, well, maybe because the second act, John and I, it's Big Daddy and Brick. It's, when he goes into the whole why do you drink, the whole skipper thing, all that kind of mess. It's very heavy, and you can usually hear a pin drop anyway. So I thought, well, maybe it'll cease anyway, because most of the time people quiet down. It's very respectful. And went back out. He started catcalling her as soon as, because she delivers me on the stage to Big Daddy, because he says, where's Brick? And she says, I delivered him here for you. And then I came out, and he started to boo John, actually, and then I'll tell you what happened, or rather, you take it from there.
Yeah, so...
Just a sidebar. So when
Sure.
it happened in the first act, why didn't you contact the sound gal? I mean, I guess I'm used to being in comedy clubs. I would immediately said, hey, get that guy out of here. That's what I would have said.
Probably the one thing we could have done differently is when Anton told me, I could have either instructed him to go find the stage manager or the producer.
We usually have a little thing, because in an audience, a comedian can never look bad, so I always go like this. And I say,
yeah.
that means get rid of him.
Yeah, we don't have any built-in cues for that.
Well, because it's never happened
no,
before,
it's,
so people
it's
were just
so
sort of
out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there was one thing we could have done differently at intermission, when Anton came to me, I could have instructed him to go do just that, or he could have taken the initiative and gone.
Right,
and
just
found
if you
someone.
had your, who,
Yeah.
it's such an unusual situation.
And we're in such an emotional preparation. We were, like I said, Jason, the work we were doing
Oh,
on
I
this
understand.
was really in depth.
For those at home, this is a very heavy play. It's about homosexuality. It's about a father not accepting his son. It's about a woman marrying someone who's gay and not in her life, not being able to have children and have babies. It's about money. It's about power. It's a real complex play, and it won the Pulitzer Prize, and we can see why.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's in the text, and the text is dense. And the work that we were doing, especially in between acts, is really focused preparation. So when Anton brought this to me, I had to break from my prep, counsel him as much as I could to get back on track so that we could go out and tell the story in the second act. In retrospect, yeah, one of us could have handled that differently. We didn't.
Yeah.
I guess in my mind, I couldn't even wrap my head around what he was telling me. You're being heckled? You're being booed?
Yeah, what
I
is it?
couldn't, yeah, I tried to visualize it and I couldn't. So Anton did as I said, which was let's put it into the work and go out there and,
You were just probably thinking it would go away.
Indeed.
That's what
and
I would have
And I
thought.
definitely didn't think it was going to happen when I was on stage.
Well, I don't think anybody thought it was going to escalate to the point that it did, which is the second part of the story.
Yeah.
I came back out, and what happened was it escalated to the next level. This heckler got a lot more obnoxious, and then John would ask questions of Brick, and then this guy would fill in the blank.
So he turned it on me, the second act, right before I'm about to step into the black and go back to my position of being, passed out on the stage, which is how the first act ends. Second act begins and I rise up. So I have to get into position for that to start the second act on black. And right as I'm about to step out, Jason, the producer comes by and nonchalantly kind of whispers in my ear, this is the drunkest audience we've ever had. So now in my mind I'm processing, okay, I've got a livid co-star who's, about to break because he's so mad at what's happening.
And plus, your friends are in the audience. And
I've got friends in the audience.
You want this to be a great show.
Yeah, and apparently there's some drunks in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm about to step on, and I processed all of it. And I said,
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think maybe that's a really good way to put it. I've never done stand-up work.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
My ego told me this is not. No one's going to heckle me. It'll change once I'm out there.
Because he's some young kid wearing a towel. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And
I think the same thing as you. I think if the opening act, oh look, that guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's a new kid. Wait until I come,
Yeah.
baby.
Big Daddy will calm things down.
Exactly.
So I walk out. This second.
My
act
tour is called "I'm the Daddy and I Have Candy," but go ahead.
I love it. That's good. The second act is moving along, and then I start to hear what Anton told me, and it's just a really sharp, definitive boo, boo. Every time he opened his mouth, there would be someone cutting through our moments and just booing.
And did anybody in the audience start fighting with him?
No, and I think maybe
I think the people
in their
started to
defense,
kinda-
they didn't know if he was
Yeah.
part of the show or if they would contribute to the distraction, right?
Right.
And then he turned it on me during my monologue about Big Mama, about how now that I've got my new lease on life, I'm going to go find myself a young girl, and it's this great monologue that I've got, and I take it right down, to center stage, and he's booing me through my whole monologue, and now I'm feeling what Anton felt, and the monologue concludes, and I turn to Brick and I say, "Now why are you so restless, boy? You got ants in your britches?" And he cuts right through and says, "Because he's a fag." And it just stopped us both in our tracks.
There was a gasp in the audience at that
Yeah,
point.
it was.
I
Literally,
can imagine that was like, man.
I stopped and I had to take it in for a moment. Did he really just say that? And no sooner was I about to figure out what I was going to do about that than he said it a second time.
Oh.
And I just turned to him. What kind of language can I use here?
Any kind you want.
I turned to him and I said, "What did you say, motherfucker?" And he looked at me, and instead of stepping over the wall, which was right there, I could have just stepped over the imaginary fourth wall and approached him.
Well, those at home know what a fourth wall is. In a play, there's 3 walls to it, and of course, the fourth wall is where you can see in from the theater,
Yeah.
and actors call that the fourth wall.
Yeah, and I could have stepped right over that, and he's 3 rows deep. I could have had him in a nanosecond, but instead I took off my vest as if to say, "It's on," and I walked out the imaginary door and approached him. And I said, "Did you say that?" And he stood up and said, "Yeah, I said it." And I just gave him a push, and he went right over. And that was as far as I had kind of...
But he was sitting, right?
He stood up.
Oh, he stood up.
He stood up to take
"What are you
ownership.
gonna do about it?"
Oh, so that makes a big
Yeah.
difference. Okay.
Yeah, he stood
Yeah.
up to say, "Yeah, I
Very
said
proudly.
And then so you're like in the part, not
Yeah.
half in the part and half.
it." And now I'm in the audience. I'm 3 rows
Yeah,
deep.
so you're like in this sort of crazy place.
I'm protecting...
Well, let's take a break here
Sure.
with this, and we're going to take a break and come back right here on Absolutely Jason Stuart with the Cat on a Hot Tin Roof saga, and we'll go on to talk about what happened after that with all the press and everything. We'll be back in just a moment. Please
Okay.
stay with us.
Let's Get Digital, Wednesday, 6 p.m. on T-Radio VLA.
Crazy Bone would never do this.
Well, howdy, I'm Miss Laura, host of Miss Laura's Civil Wars. We do it every Saturday at 10 a.m. We talk about what's in the news that everybody's fussing and fighting about this week, because y'all are rude. We have a roundtable of media experts, and we bring in celebrity guests from the world of entertainment. So join us on Miss Laura's Civil Wars every Saturday at 10 a.m. on TRadiov.com. Radio and TV.
What's happening? This is your man Money B from Digital Underground, inviting everyone to join me for my new show, The Going Way Back Show with Money B, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on T Radio V. Join me, Ty Teasy, and DJ Always to give you your favorite hip-hop from back in the day. Right here on T Radio V.
I drive with both hands off the wheel.
Shaken, not stirred.
Bad. Really bad.
Langdon Nation, saving the world one dirty joke at a time. Saturdays from 1 to 3, exclusively on T Radio V.
T Radio V. Radio in TV. Radio in TV.
Back on Absolutely Jason Stuart with my guests John Lacy and Anton Troy. So we just left it where you went into the audience in the midst of a play. And for those who don't, let's talk to the people at home so everybody understands what's really going on here. When you do a play as an actor, it isn't just memorizing lines and moves about. You go through the emotions, so you're in an emotional state. And this is a very emotional play. It's a family drama. In the days they used to call it a kitchen drama. And this is about a family that's in peril. It's like the worst time. The father has cancer, and the son, he knows his son is a homosexual, and it's a son that he loves the best. And there's all this family drama going on and all this stuff going on. So when you're in the midst of that in your head, you're really not thinking clearly. And not to make an excuse for anything or just say, I don't have an opinion about all of this as of yet, honestly. But you were like in this place.
Sure.
And I know Rosie O'Donnell's an old comedy friend of mine, and when she was doing Grease and stuff, people would do stuff, and and Bruce Valanche is an old friend of mine, and he's doing Hairspray. He'd sort of wink at the audience. Mm-hmm. But those are really fun, campy plays. But when you're in, I know that Kevin Spacey talked about it on Charlie Rose the other night about people having cell phones in the audience, and Patti LuPone yelled at somebody for videotaping her show or taking pictures.
Daniel Craig and Hugh Jackman had an episode recently.
Yeah, so I think that, and I'm in the movie theater the other night where somebody's actually texting or went to that thing where he wanted to know what music was in the movie, so he puts the thing up and the music comes up and he can tell what song is playing.
Shazam or
and
Shazam.
And I went to him at the end of the play. I said, "Man, that really wasn't cool with the phone." He said, "Well, I was just getting." I said, "Yeah." But, I'm paying $16 to go to the ArcLight, so I don't have to deal with that. Go to the AMC.
Good for you, but right there, just by saying something.
Yeah, but he looked very indignant. He said, "Look, man," I said, "I don't want to hear." And
that's
just
why
walked away.
people don't approach people. They don't want to be met with the resistance that they're going to be.
So this
met
guy
with.
gets drunk in a movie theater. He stands up when you go out there. You're half in character, half in not. You confront him. You give him a push. So you're really pissed at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So you're like out of, basically out of control in a place that you're like not really, you're half you and half the character.
If I was out of control, I think I would have just gone over that fourth wall. That was my point of that part of the story.
So you were half there.
Yeah. The fact that I took off my vest and went out the door tells me that it was Big Daddy as much as it was John Lacy. And I'd only thought it through up until the confrontation. Once I pushed him and he went over pretty easily.
But you didn't know you were going to push him, though, did you? I mean, you just went. You were going to go over and say, "Hey, man,
I was maybe hoping he was going to apologize and say, "Sorry, it won't happen again." I don't know.
Yeah, you were just. I can't even imagine walking out from a play in the middle. And doing that. I can't imagine doing that.
I could never have imagined it either.
Well, the guy was egging you on too. He was very proudly said that
he did.
He
stood
was
up
the one.
with
And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, that was pretty much what I was met with once I.
And what did the audience do? Or could you even hear them?
I think they were shocked and wondering if maybe it was part of what they paid for.
And who was on stage at that point?
Just Anton and
just
myself.
Me.
Brick
Just
and Big Daddy.
This
is our big. This is the meat and potatoes of the play.
So the two gals, the gal that played Maggie, your wife, and the gal that played your wife, Big Mama. Now she's made some statements in the press that we don't know. I don't know what's real and what isn't real. But she basically said this was the wrong thing to do, and she's disagreed with you.
Yeah.
And I guess it's so funny that she would even have this strong of an opinion, because you're really, I mean, you're just sort of half in and half out. You're really not thinking. You yourself, if it was you, you wouldn't have made these decisions. Probably, if you were just a person on stage, you know, doing something, you probably and had time to think about it, and certainly you have.
I think maybe there's something to that. I think her perspective, and it's a legitimate one, was that there are certain things that an actor can't do in that situation, and I did the stuff that you're not supposed to do.
And there's there's a big difference between
putting your hands on an audience member being the cardinal sin that I apparently broke. And I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Like I've said, I'm a man before I'm an actor. And this is the type of situation where my whole life, when I feel like someone has crossed the line of decency, and in this case, this person crossed the line of decency, not just with a homophobic slur like that was so insulting and disrespectful to the whole process of what we were doing, but just to our art, to our storytelling, to Tennessee Williams. It crossed so many lines that I didn't see.
And it went on for an hour.
Yeah, the booing was something we were working around the booing. Yeah. But as soon as he started with name calling, I didn't see where it was going to get any better.
So what happened after that?
This was I've always relied on the kindness of strangers.
Yeah. I had a friend in the audience that night named Tim Sullivan, who's a gay filmmaker. He's about 6'4", probably about 3 bills. He's a big guy. He happened to be there with a buddy of his who is Robbie Vinton, which is Bobby Vinton's kid, Mr. Blue Velvet from back in the day. And they saw this thing go on, and they'd heard the booing through the first act and whatnot. And I guess Robbie leaned over to Tim because after he grabbed this guy, he saw the other guy, from what he says, like he was going to go to punch John or something. And Robbie says, we got to do something about this. So Tim walks down the aisles, grabs this guy, bouncer style, by the belt strap, pretty much takes him out of the theater. This was right after you grabbed him, yeah.
So I pushed I pushed the heckler over. Yeah. The heckler had a friend with him.
So this is all going on during Act 2.
Yeah, the heckler had company, had a man and a woman with him. And when I pushed him over, the two of them, his companions,
they stood up.
Acted as if, we were crashing their wedding party or something. They literally had this look of, how dare you come out in the audience? And now, like I said, Jason, this is as far as I thought it through. As far as I knew, he had 5 friends with him. And they were going to be all hostile.
Well, I
didn't know what I was up against.
Yeah, you knew what was going on.
Needless to say, I was vulnerable.
So your friends came to his...
Saved the day, man.
Yeah, I grabbed him and, threw him out bouncer style. And Tim basically said, do you want to see what fags do? Like, get out of my theater.
The gays came to the...
The gays came to the rescue.
In a big way.
One of the things that I've said a couple times throughout this process is, after it happened too, I sat at home and... Because John and I never wanted to... have anything happen with the play where other actors, didn't have a show to do or anything like that, even though that's the way it ended up happening. And
tell us before you tell us that. Tell us what the chronological what happened after that. So the guy, your 2 friends, your showbiz friends, big guys, took the loser out.
Well, it took him out, and then
did his friends go with him?
To that. Yeah. The friends ran out with that, and then
the audience went like this.
Yeah,
probably.
Tim basically said, why do you come here? Why do you come to Tennessee Williams' play? You homophobic piece of whatever. And then the audience, after the guy was thrown out, thunderous applause. Just
you don't say the gay F word easily in an audience, and by to play about a homosexual.
So after Tim Sullivan, he's such a big guy that he literally was able to seal off the physical confrontation out in the lobby. And in that little vacuum of a moment where the producer was seconds away from stepping in and saying, sorry, everyone, time to go home, the police are coming, Anton was still on stage.
Were the police called?
Sure. I was able to get the audience to sit down and ask them if they wanted us to continue the show. Of course, they said yes. I asked them where they wanted me to pick it back up. They said, go back to that monologue about Big Mama. And we went back and we kicked it back into high gear and took it to the finish line, and it was a great second act. So thank you, Tim Sullivan.
There's a great picture, too. It says Brick and Big Daddy, and there's a great picture of the 2 of you on stage together. And it seems like, it's probably, from the connection between the two of you, it seems like an incredible, never take a picture like that. Wait until he turns his head.
Trust me.
I can't believe they picked that.
Yeah. It's a good shot, though.
Yeah. Tell them, use the one where you turned your head. Have it in your contract, you get to pick the pictures. That's youth. Yeah. So basically what happened is you did the rest of the play, and then what happened? Oh, well, we got to take a break. Oh, okay. This is like taking long. You're right. This is going to take, I think it's going to take a lot longer to get through all this.
That's
so
all right.
Right here with John Lacy and Anton Troy, and we'll be back in just a second to hear what happened after the crazy people left. Mm-hmm. We'll be back in just a second right here with Absolutely Jason Stewart. Please.
I'm Laura Samoza.
I'm Sterling Gardner.
And we are Between the Sheets every Monday here, 3 p.m., tradiov.com.
T-Radio-V.
That's right. It's T-Radio-V, Radio in TV. What is that face?
He wants to see our hands.
That's Radio in TV. Wah, 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 wah.
We're not a couple.
This is Quick Fix Radio.
Quick Fix Radio.
Yeah. Check it out, y'all. We back in the building. What's going on?
Yes, sir. What it do? We got some super special guests up in the place,
in the building, we got all 5 live in the building. Bone Thugs in the building. Everybody.
We up in here
tonight, y'all. What's going on?
Hey, man, I had to come see what this TV radio what this all about. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
We got Game on the line. Game, what's going down, baby?
What up? What up, man?
What's going on? Oh, man, we got EPO Dylan. Who's this on the phone with us?
Yo, what up, man? It's Akon.
Oh, Akon in the building. Who is this on the line?
Be Real.
We got Be Real. Oh, Be Real. Who is we got on the line?
This Ty Dolla $ign right here.
What up, Ty Dolla $ign in the building. Thanks to all the fans for stopping by.
The Quick Fix with Crazy Bone, right here on T-Radio-V.
Hi, this is Danny Woodburn, and you're watching T-Radio-V. Did it come up? Are you all right? There we go. He's good.
T-Radio-V. Radio in TV. Radio in TV.
And we're back at Absolutely Jason Stewart with John Lacy and Anton Troy. So just to fill people in, John Lacy, please go to his IMDb page or website, the Artist Process, and know this guy's been in, close to 100 film and TV shows. Am I correct? Oh, 64. Well, it seemed like 100. Yeah. But, between everything else and all the shows you've done, go look at John. John has been in everything from, I want to talk about Zodiac and Red State and stuff if we have a moment. But he's been in, we've been in a lot of the same shows. Secret Life of American Teenager, House, Major Crimes. And Anton is the star of this incredibly outrageous, crazy kind of action comedy, right, called Chillerama, directed by the guy who actually saved John's life.
Saved my bacon.
And you're also a singer, too?
I do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But, that film is
a budding
an anthology
James
film.
Dean.
Yeah, well,
So tell us what happened after so you did the show, and of course you were probably just completely shaken and felt like crazy.
Yeah,
I would have felt crazy.
It was a great show. I mean, the energy and the inertia from what happened definitely propelled the second act, and it was great. So Anton, if you want to pick up, I mean, Anton was very savvy at the end, and he held me after the cast took a bow. And as everyone was leaving the stage, Anton grabbed me by the hand, and Big Daddy and Brick took a final bound. It was very poignant. I mean,
is that
for
what
all the
usually
right
happens?
No.
Oh.
No, it was Anton.
Oh, so basically
having a moment with Big Daddy on stage.
That may have caused a little actor jealousy.
I hope not. It didn't. It didn't. It's never dawned on me if it did.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I'm used to this. So
I thought it stamped the evening that Big Daddy took up for Brick, and Brick was saying thank you to Big Daddy.
Mm-hmm. And the ladies in the show, I spoke to the gal that played Maggie. What is her name?
Emily Lowe.
Emily Lowe. We spoke on Facebook, and she had said that there was something said, and I want to sort of say this. 'Cause she said that she was afraid that there was a gun in the audience, and it was in the press, and she said she never said that. And I think probably what she meant to say, and I got from her message, is that, you know, you going out of the audience, what if it could have been really, really dangerous. But obviously, being in the midst, and I don't know if you and Emily have talked about this, but being in the midst of this character, you were not thinking straight.
No, and if there was a gun, I was probably doing something maybe to make sure that didn't happen.
Well,
who knows?
I don't even think you went there.
No, of course not. There was a threat. Let's put it this way: there was a threat in the audience.
She's right, but I mean, I think that maybe it's the difference of the way you guys work.
Yeah.
Too. You know, maybe some people work on the outside, some people work on the inside. You know, it depends. I know for me that because I do stand up, I am so aware of the audience in a I don't know how to explain it. I can hear to me they're like the next character, because I can feel them.
Mm-hmm. I imagine.
And I can feel whether they hear you in the wave of stuff.
No, this is the opposite of that. This is such an invasion into our world of art. And it was so inappropriate and disrespectful that I don't know. I'm not even going to say I would do it differently if it happened again.
Oh, I think you would, John. Come on. I don't know. Come on. I'm looking at you and I'm thinking you would. I think you're feeling. To me, I'm getting from everything I've read and what's going on. You're feeling a little attacked.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think so, because people have said, "Hey, you made the wrong choice," and these are your castmates. I do believe that anybody, and I don't care I don't even know you. But I do believe that you would have made a different choice if you had time to go, okay, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Yeah.
You make a split-second decision to protect another.
Yeah, but we're not talking about a gum wrapper or a cell phone.
Yeah,
we're talking about a verbal assault.
Well, I've said too that it's I read a lot of stuff too. Some people afterwards like, well, they should have brought it to their attention sooner, and it's like, okay, number one, we're doing.
Have you done theater before?
I've done theater before, yeah.
Okay.
But you're doing Tennessee Williams number one. This is probably one of the heaviest portions of the entire play. Before, like I said, he comes out about his relationship with Skipper, why he drinks, why he's drinking himself to death. We kind of resolving our relationship and whatnot. And it's really easy to say, especially when you're trying to focus, and that's why we're saying our prep has to be so strong before we go back out to go, well, you should have handled it this way, handled it that way, because we're like two fish in a fishbowl up there. And if nothing's happening, nobody's doing anything about it, and you got a boozed up audience, it's like I said, it wasn't going to get any better. And the other thing is, I have found that, some of the people that have had issues with it weren't on stage when it happened.
Right.
And that's one of my biggest
yeah,
beefs
they were backstage
as well.
and they did, and they were, who knows what decision they would have made. And also, I probably would have done the same thing you did. But I wouldn't have done it from the audience, because I'm a little bit of a chicken shit. So I would have, because I was beat up a lot as a kid. I am a gay guy that was beat up. I am a gay guy that was, when I use the gay F word, that's what I call it. When I use that word was scratched on my locker in the 7th grade with a nail. So every time that I did the combination, I could see it. Not everybody could see it, but I could see it if you looked at the light a certain way. So that word has incredible power to me. It would have, when I was younger, I would have become a part of the carpeting. But at this age, if somebody said that, I probably wouldn't. I would have just dropped the show, and I would have said, look, you need to go.
Yeah.
And I would have dropped the accent and everything.
Wow. And that's what Tim, especially Tim in the audience as a gay man,
what I would
dealt
have
with
done.
a lot of that. And for him,
so I would have
like,
done that. So I wouldn't have even done it in character. I wouldn't have done the vest. I wouldn't have done shit. I would have said, you need to go. And then take these fucking, hayseeds with you. And I would have snapped.
I hear you.
And you guys, just those at home don't know, you're both straight guys.
Correct.
Yeah. And so that, that I say thank you for trying to protect our honor in that way. And then you guys, did you have a publicist before, or how did this happen?
An hour after the show, as you can imagine, the energy in the lounge afterwards was, wow, did that all just happen?
Did the police come?
The sheriff tried to get me to be honest, before the show was over, the producer came and got me out of the dressing room and said, the sheriff needs to talk to you. And I said, I'm about to go back on stage. I've got one more scene. This is a part of the story that hasn't been told, so you're getting an exclusive. They came back to the dressing room and asked me to go talk to the sheriff on the street. And I said, I've got another scene. They said, don't worry, we'll improvise the ending.
Who said that?
The producer.
So where does that leave us?
Well, wait. You improvised the ending?
They thought my statement to the sheriff was more important than the final, 10 minutes of A Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. So I walked out to the sheriff, Jason, and I said,
wait,
this is a part of the story that has not been told.
We'll improvise the ending of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
They'll pretend like I don't.
Big Daddy's in the other room. Well, what happened to him? I don't know. I think he had a heart attack and died. Get Big Mama out.
Trust me, all of that's going through my mind.
We're gonna do a dance number.
To have done that.
Yeah. Okay.
God, that would have been so great.
I don't know if our cast was up to it.
I would have been up for it a minute. I would have said, God, this is great.
So I walk out to the street, and the sheriff is there with his notepad. And
after you insisted on ending the play, after all that.
Yeah, exactly. So I see the sheriff, and I say, can I help you, officer? He says, yeah, I need to take your statement. I said, I'm about to go on stage for my final scene. Can you wait 6 minutes? Give me 6 minutes, and I'll come back and give you my statement.
And he said, sure.
No. At first he said, well, I really need this. Are you sure you're going to come back? And I said, no. He said, you're not going to go anywhere. I said, yeah, I'm going on stage. So I've got 20 people in the audience that came to see me in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Let me finish the show, and I'll be happy to talk to you as long as you want after the performance. And before he could answer,
he didn't really understand.
Before he could even answer, I just turned and walked back into the theater.
He didn't probably understand.
And he never returned. He didn't need my statement. There was no statement to give. The heckler was long gone.
Well, somebody probably talked to him, yeah.
Sure. It was never even brought to my attention, any form of how the law wants to handle this. It was squashed.
Well, obviously something went on that you didn't know, too.
Well, there was, so an hour after the show, we'd said goodbye to our friends and family, and I'm simply walking to my car, and
Wait. So the producers didn't come over to you or anything?
No, nothing.
So there's this cold
They wanted to make sure everyone was all right. They were very emphatic. The guy who runs the theater wasn't there. He was called to the theater.
Oh,
The guy who had whispered in my ear was his second lieutenant, and a very nice guy, kind of a soft-spoken fellow. The one who had told me about the drunks in the audience. He's the second lieutenant. He was there that night. The gentleman who runs the theater was not there.
Just also at home to know, when you run a theater and you're in a smul town, they're just trying to make it. They don't want to ruffle feathers. They want people to come back. They see they have a successful production. So there's a difference between the people who run the theater and then the people that are in the play and doing the job. It's usually everybody from the director on is a hired hand.
The last thing Anton and I would ever want is anything bad to happen to this theater, to this, to the future going forward of any future productions. We need more theater, not less.
Yeah, closing down an art house doesn't fix anything as far as I'm concerned.
So an hour after the show, the guy who runs the theater had been called to figure out the mess, right? I'm walking by the theater, and I simply extended my hand to him to say, wow, that was a pretty crazy night. Now, this is an hour after, right, we've taken our bow. And he didn't want to hear it. He looked at me and said, don't you smile at me. Do you know how much trouble you've caused, how much jeopardy you've put my theater? I'm getting death threats now on our voicemail. We had someone threaten violence. My staff is now in jeopardy. And he started,
all in an hour, people
he started to read me the riot act right on the street. My wife could have heard it. She had just gotten into her car to drive off. And he started to dress me down. And, of course, I wasn't going to take it. I listened to about 15 seconds of it and said, if you can't protect your actors, trust me, I will. And he escalated
it became a guy fight.
Sure did. And as soon as he got it to a certain point where he told me to go F myself and I returned the fire, he fired me. And that's when Anton and I got together, and I'll let you take it from there.
So again, before you talk, and I say this as a guy who, how do I say this, has been in a program that teaches us how to communicate better. If you, in retrospect, if you knew that he was that mad about it, you would not have behaved that way.
No, I couldn't.
You wouldn't have smiled and said, hey, this was crazy. It's just the crazy things that
You're
happened.
Right.
You
were
trying to make light of it and just go, okay, this is crazy. It's never...
Yeah.
When does this ever happen?
I expected, John, we're going to need to talk about this. Come in an hour early tomorrow, okay?
Yeah.
That would have been a professional response from him.
Or just say, hey, are you guys okay? What?
They did that in the dressing room. Not to us directly, but just kind of a general cast.
Right.
Is everyone okay? Is everyone all right? Almost like a formality. Right?
So he reacted to you. So that makes total sense. So basically, he fired you because he was mad.
Yes.
That you didn't react the way he wanted you to react, or the way he thought was appropriate.
Exactly.
and you were trying to, not make a big deal out of it because it had already been so crazy, and probably was still trying to wrap your head around it.
And having said that, I still went home. Anton came back to my house, as did Anthony Deedle, the actor playing Gooper. We went back to my house, and I immediately wanted to write it in a succinct paragraph on Facebook, what just happened. But I emailed the soft-spoken producer who was there, and I said, Mikey, talk me out of this. Talk me out of going public with what just happened, because that wasn't cool, getting fired for what just happened. Give me a reason why I shouldn't take this on a social media platform. And he didn't have a good rebuttal.
So he also has had an issue with this guy,
yeah,
obviously.
that's basically it. He said, I work for him and I need my job. I slept on it. Anton and I decided, you know what, sleep on it. And then I woke up the next morning, looked at it and said, send. And I went and played softball all morning.
God.
Yeah.
Oh man! All right. Well, let's take a break. This is a 3-hour show. We're not going to get to talk about Zodiac, but maybe we come back. We'll talk about it for a minute. Zodiac and your movie, and working with David Fincher, one of my favorite directors. We'll be back in just a second with Anton Troy and John Lacy here on Absolutely Jason Stewart. We'll be back in just a moment.
And I want you to check out my new show, Playing It Forward with Christina Fulton. Join me as I interview every week the biggest and the brightest celebrities, philanthropists, and CEOs in the world, including a 5-year-old girl that is changing the world today. 5 years old. What was I doing at 5? It's all about having fun, kick-ass music, and making a difference. Every Friday at 1 p.m. with me, Kyle, and my DJ, Chris Cruz. Be a game changer. Play it forward. Right here at T Radio V. Radio and TV.
Join Dave Navarro and friends for Dark Matter, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on T Radio V.
Hey, Dave Navarro here, Dark Matter Radio, TRadioV.com.
The universe is vast, enormous, huge, full of stars, planets, and matter. Some of the matter is so dense that not even light escapes.
Get on the mic, get on the mic, get on the mic, get on the mic, Frank.
Pardon me, sir, pardon my reach.
See, and you guys were worried. I think this is going great.
Pardon my reach.
Get the away from me, dude.
You are really beautiful.
Thanks, you guys.
He's one of the most beautiful people I've ever known.
This is pretty much every week. He brings in a guest that tells him how beautiful he is.
Pardon my reach? If you have to reach over me, then don't do it.
He is the straightest gay guy I know.
Dave Navarro signing off. Dark Matter. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Dark Matter with Dave Navarro, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on T Radio V.
Hey guys, I'm Destiny. Check out my show, Destiny's EDM Power Hour, every Tuesday at 4 p.m. here on T Radio V. Every week, I talk about all things in the electronic dance world, including the hottest songs, DJs, latest news, and random facts, including how to dance on the moon when the beat drops. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. here on T Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio V. Radio in TV. Radio in TV.
Come on. Come on.
And we're back. Absolutely Jason Stewart here with three tough guys.
Right.
I could play any kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants to fight?
Because we're auditioning you today for Gooper. We brought some material.
Yeah. Who wants to? Well, he's a bit of a wimp. He's not completely.
No,
you
no.
know. Hey, who wants to get in her underwear and just rest on the floor here just for a couple minutes? Yeah, you do it in a minute. Come on.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, the publicity has gone nutso. I mean, you guys got a publicist and tried to take this negative thing and turn it into a positive.
Well, I think the thing that we're leaving out that's important too is that night when I found out that he was fired, I went over and talked to the producers at the theater and stuff like that. And
that night?
Yeah, when we were, like I said, we were at the restaurant. We went next door afterwards and kind of hung out for an hour before he had this whole thing go down where he was fired and whatnot. And then I had plans to meet up with him somewhere else and a couple of his friends, and then one of our cast members, Gabby Eubank, who plays May, said, well, I don't think that's happening anymore. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, John's just been fired. And I go, whoa, hey, wait a second. So I went outside and proceeded to ask him about it, and they had told me that, he put the theater in jeopardy, pretty much everything that he said, and that, they fired him. And my first response is, well, who's going to play Big Daddy? And they'll say, we'll just get somebody.
How could you learn a part in a week like that? I mean,
How could you fire an actor without an understudy? I mean,
we asked for understudies, by the way. So the thing is, I kind of stormed off at that point because I didn't really like where the conversation was going. And then the next morning, after John posted his thing and he kind of slept on it, then I posted my public resignation of Brick and said no John Lacy, no Anton, and I don't support an establishment that doesn't support its actors, and I don't stand up for any form of hate.
Well, I think a conversation should have been put down with obviously a mediator because everybody had different things. But I think the big problem is that I really do in my heart believe, you guys seem like reasonable people. John seems just a little crazy. No, I'm kidding. But, just the idea, I know that if I have time to think about something, if you know better, you do better. That's the Maya Angelou quote. And if you have all the stuff laying down in front of you and these are your choices, rather than somebody just sort of hitting you and you kind of getting up and going, where do I go? And then you got hit in the play and then you get hit again by the producer of the play, and after you've had quite an evening and, I know, God, I've done a lot of stupid things. So I'm in your school. I'm like you, even though I'm a gay guy. I'm like, I can tell you how many comedy clubs when I've been. I walk off stage and say, get that fucking guy out of here, because on stage I can't do it.
Yeah.
I have to behave happy. I mean, I had somebody scream in 1995 at the Laugh Stop in Houston, Texas. Scream up right in the middle of my show, y'all have AIDS.
Wow. And
I didn't know what to say. I had been an out comedian for, I think, 2 or 3 years. I'd never had anybody say that. And I remember going, okay. Because the room, I was doing well. And the room just stopped. And I remember thinking, well, what do I do? And I just went over and I said, well, I guess we're having an uncomfortable moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole audience laughed.
Yeah.
And that became a catchphrase in my show.
Mm.
And I said, and then I made fun of him for like 10 minutes. And
that's a nice.
You can't do that as in a play.
Well, I also said too that I feel like if John was not fired that evening, and it would have been, just approached in a different way from the producer, like, hey guys, I don't agree with what you did. This has put even the theater in, with unnecessary flack that they didn't want, and would approach it, but let's talk about it tomorrow, have a conversation about this. We wouldn't be sitting here right now.
It became a cockfight, basically, what it became between you and the producer, rather than discussing the issues and say, hey, it just freaked me out, man. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going to happen with him. And then Maggie and Big Mama could have said, yeah, it scared the shit out of us, and we didn't like what you did. And you could have said, well, if I knew what I was thinking, I might have done something different. And so how did you get, when you did the play again as a benefit for No on 8, and you did it at the Actors Gang, which is Tim Robbins Theater?
Correct.
And some other really great, wonderful actors that I can't
long-time friends of mine. I did 2 productions with the Actors Gang almost 18, 20 years ago.
And you got who didn't show?
Well, we lost half of our cast. 2 of the supporting roles were played by actors that had more of a relationship with the theater itself.
Well,
so they politely decided to not participate. And then the actress playing Big Mama had just decided that it was not for her. And then we lost Gooper, unfortunately. He was a good friend of ours and just decided he didn't want to participate. So we had 4 in and 4 out. And the 4 characters that we lost, Brian Finney at the Actors Gang said, John, you know who you're talking to here, but this is the Actors Gang. We have talented actors everywhere. We'll have 4 actors standing on stage on book, and you guys can do a performance where it's, 4 of you are performance ready and 4 of you are on book. And we had 2 rehearsals, and we made it a heck of a show. And get this, all 4 of the actors from the original cast had their mothers in attendance. So it was really a special performance for 4 mothers, 3 of whom had flown in for that weekend's performance, and we were able to do it at the Actors Gang in a far superior physical space than in Newhall.
My mother won't even come in from Palm Springs. This is really hurting me.
Yeah, I know.
Can't go. I have to have my nails done. I have a doctor's appointment.
Well, that's
and I don't know. I think I'm having an affair with the pharmacist who's looking at my tits, and I don't know.
Oh, that's good. No, it was
this
special.
It really hurts. I just have to say.
Yeah.
It really hurts.
I'm sorry to open that wound.
Yeah. Oh God! So, and you
happy ending.
You both have had wonderful careers. I mean, you're just starting, it seems like, and you did this really cool film. What is it called? Wanderama?
Chillerama.
Chillerama.
Yeah.
Do we have time for a little clip from Chillerama? It's. Oh, we only have 1 minute. So tell us about Chillerama. We don't.
It was just a crazy anthology film. Adam Rifkin was one of the
directors.
It's a parody. It's of all the grindhouse movies of different decades. Basically, you have like your Universal, black and white picture. You have your nuclear era stuff. The Bad Beach musicals, which I was in, which was kind of like this. I played this Jimmy Dean sort of. Beach blanket bingo werewolf.
I don't know.
There we are.
Yeah. You think of something. They always think of something. Wait, what's your names? Talent.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah, once again.
I'm Ricky. We know.
And then, of course, you've done everything. I mean, so many films. And Zodiac, you got to work with David Fincher.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like?
Brilliant. I mean, he's an actor's director.
How many takes did you do?
So many, because he was shooting digital before a lot of people were, and had a brilliant.
Did you love it or did you hate it?
I loved it because I was playing, one of the serial killer suspects and creating this character from the outside in, literally physically creating him, was.
How many weeks did you work on it?
Just 1 week. Yeah, 1 week out in Camarillo on the highway at 3:00 in the morning. I got to terrorize Ione Sky in a old vintage car and say some really horrible things to her, and it was just one of those experiences as an actor you never forget. So yeah, working with Fincher was a highlight.
So you guys are great. Why don't you, everybody, go to their website page, which is called Intolerance Inc.
Tolerance.
Tolerance.
Yeah. Tolerance INC.
INC, or just go to jasonstewart.com, STUART, and I will, if you can't remember their names, then I will connect you guys all together. They both have Facebook pages with their names. Anton, Troy, John Lacy. Thank you so much for being on the show. I wish we had more time to talk about it, more stuff. And thank you so much for standing up for the gay community. We really appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome.
Thank you very
Everyone,
much.
take care. Thanks for listening, and see you next Tuesday at noon.
Okay.
Bye-bye, everybody.
You are watching T Radio V. Radio and TV.